This first video will help us to set up our model in a simple form that will allow us to move on to the formulaic structure. And I'm doing this just to try to get us all on the same basic page in terms of working with a simple model. The one I provided you for as a sample textual structure may be a little more complicated than we need it to be, and I'm going to want to build those skills with you later. So let's try to go ahead and get this thing cleaned up. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to go to Moodle, and we want to download this case study, and then we want to download this sample textual structure model. The reason we're going to download the case study is it's going to be the source for the numbers. So for example, this will be the source that we'll use on the income statement. These will then be the sources that we will use within our assumptions. These are the ones that are plugged into the balance sheet. And then here are some more assumptions. So I bring that up just to show you where it is because we're going to cross-reference it. Now, what I really want us to do is bring down the sample model and its textual structure. First thing we're going to need to do is enable some editing. And then let's go ahead and rename this model. So I'm going to use Alt-F-A and hit 1. And I'm going to call this BSE 3350. And we'll call this Kamienski. And we'll call this model, and then today's date is 033115, and we want to leave it right now as an XLSM. We'll describe why later. So the first thing we want to do is clean it up a little bit and make it simpler. So let's start off on the assumptions page, and let's select these first 4 pages: assumptions, income, balance, and the statement of cash flows. Once we have all those selected, and the way that I'm selecting them all is by holding down Control and just left clicking on them. You can see now they're all highlighted. Then let's go up into cell A4, shift and grab the top 4 rows, and then we're going to navigate to Alt H O U R, and we're going to hide those. And what you'll notice that happens is I'm now Control page downing and Control page upping through, is that you see that that hid those rows from us because we don't need those yet. Let's then do the same thing for rows 5 and 6 here, since we won't need those, but I only want that on the assumptions page. So I'm going to click onto an income statement once, and then click onto assumptions once. Hopefully that will allow me to just select that one. Let's see if that is correct. No, now it's selected as a 1. So click on that far right one just to deselect those first 4. Get yourself back to the assumptions. And then let's Alt H O U R just on rows 4 and 6. And so now we've got some basics here. Let's save as often as we can. Okay, here then we want to go ahead and reset this to be 2016. And when we do that, then let's go ahead and say equals previous year plus 1. And then we'll copy and paste that across. And then on our subsequent sheets then, let's make sure that we're pointing our reference back to the assumptions. So we're picking up that same set of years and copying and pasting that across. This looks like it's working just fine. This does not, so let's go back to our assumptions and make sure that we are pointing to a common reference. Now it looks like we've got everything updated, and we're going to save. Okay. A couple of other things we're going to want to make sure that we do is I just noticed that we have some extra numbers in here we don't want. So we're going to need to highlight the whole spreadsheet up here, and we're going to do Alt H O U, and this time we want to do O for unhide those rows because I hid one that I need. I want you to go to this capital expansion box and press No, and then save it again. Then we'll highlight on just this spreadsheet those 6 rows, Alt H O U R, and now we've got a very basic model with its baseline assumptions. Make sure you have those. Now, I have memorized the fact that 5% is the baseline growth rate we want, but let's go ahead and change this in here then. And if we cross-reference the case study, what we see is that number is actually supposed to be 45%. So let's update that to 45, copy and paste that across, and then cross-referencing the case, I know that these are all actuals as well. So now let's go ahead and do the same thing for our days receivables and inventories and payable. And if we cross-reference our spreadsheet's inputs, what we will see is, where are they? There they are, up here. Days payable should be 45, inventory 100, and receivables 50. So 50, 100, 45. So let's make those updates, 50, 100, and 45. Once we've got those in there, let's go ahead and copy and paste those across so that we have now all the exact same assumptions working amongst us. These are the prep steps then that will get us ready to all work together. There's just one last one. Let's do Alt H O U, and this time we're going to hide this column with the operating scenarios so we don't goof it up. And so at the end of the day, you should have something that says projections 2016 through 2020 on your assumptions page, an income statement that we actually need to put this as 2015 up here. So that has our actuals data in it with an ending value of, I believe it's 6,990,000. We don't need this line, so let's Alt HDR and get rid of that one. And then we should have our balance sheet with its numbers and a statement of cash flows that's largely empty for the time being. So that's all for now. We'll go ahead and start building the formulas in just